Hello, and welcome back to the Daily Joyride podcast. I am your host, Robyn Cohen, here to fuel your day with energy, infuse it with joy, and share powerful stories that will ignite your courage, spark your spirit, awaken your perceptions, and inspire and encourage the once-in-a-cosmos you to create a life that you actually love living. So if that's your jam, buckle up and let's ride. Here we go. Hello, bright lights, and welcome back to the Daily Joyride, a podcast that's not just a conversation. It is a passion party. It is a celebration of artistry and the human spirit. I am your host, Robyn Cohen, and today is all about diving into the depths and the range of what it is and what it means to be a human being. And no one does being human better than my dear friend, my creative comrade, my spirit animal guru, Boise Thomas. It's always a delight to offer a canvas here where art meets heart. And today's chat with Boise is no exception. But before we become completely enchanted by his gripping tales, I have some thrilling news that's too hot to trot to keep under wraps. Starting January 28th, get ready to ignite your acting prowess with our scintillating 6-week acting workshop, the ultimate gateway to mastering your craft and embracing your potential, like all of it. It's a fusion of online exploration and onstage magic. Tuesdays will bring the virtual energy to our first 4 classes, and then we'll light up the stage in person for our last couple of sessions in our beautiful West LA theater. And I invite you to grab this creatively cosmic opportunity with our early bird special. If you sign up by January 6th, I'll lock in your spot and you're going to save $100 right at the top of the new year. Just drop me an email at robyn@cohenactingstudio.com, Robyn's with a Y, and I'll get you in, or sign up on the site, www.cohenactingstudio.com. Whether you connect from your home or you're with us on stage, this experience promises to be as unique as you are. And now, drum roll, please. Let's tune in and get our socks knocked off. You're going to need new socks after this, by the amazing Boise Thomas. Hello, and welcome back to the Daily Joyride. I'm so excited. We just had the best dance party. Boise Thomas is a dear friend of mine for decades. I clocked it. It's 2 decades pretty much on the nose that I've known you, Boise. He is an incredible human being, artist, magic maker, transformational coach, colleague, creative sprite, and just a dear and loving friend for most of the time that I have been on the left coast. So a little bit about Boise Thomas. Boise is a multi-hyphenate. He was born and raised in New York and found his way to Los Angeles via England in 1997 after a decade working in sportscasting and adventure travel. From 1999 to 2017, he fulfilled his 20-year vision by becoming a comic at the Comedy Store for several years, acted in 144 TV commercials, count them, hosted a Discovery Channel series, which we'll get back to, and signed with a big, bodacious agency. And just to expand a little bit on Boise's passion for environmentalism and hosting 13 episodes of Alter Eco on Discovery's Planet Green TV, this was a show that was in fact dedicated to sustainable living and having a world that can work and live and breathe for everyone. Speaking of which, Boise is, as mentioned, a transformational coach and a marriage counselor, integrating spiritual practices with practical strategies, guiding individuals and couples toward profound personal growth. In 2017, he pulled a geographical I love that. He pulled a geographical, period, and traveled for 2 years to write a book and self-published in 2020. How is your heart? How's your heart, really? Not how is your heart, but how's your heart? A user's guide for building a better humanity, which is his personal hand illustrated manifesto for healing from depression and suicidal ideation. Currently, Boise's highest excitement is having gone against the advice of others by writing, producing, and acting in his very first play. E equals MC squared. Or do we call it E equals MC2?
Squared.
I love it. E equals MC squared. There it is. For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, he just put up beautiful artwork, which you did everything because he does everything. This is Einstein meets Charlie Chaplin.
Einstein's plural. His wife.
Einstein's plural, his wife as well, meets Charlie Chaplin, a fascinating true story of the relationship between these two iconic or three iconic humans.
That's right.
He is currently in rewrites and pre-production to put the play up on both coasts, woohoo, in Los Angeles and back east. So join us as we explore Boise's multifaceted career, his dedication to fostering a better humanity, and the harmonious blend of his artistic talents with his commitment to personal and environmental well-being. And I just want to, I pulled up one quote that was in Voyage LA that I just loved that you shared, Boise, if I may.
Sure.
In Boise's words, what is success? This was the prompt. What is success or successful for you? His reply: success is practicing something long enough others ask you to teach them how to do it. So success for me is becoming a teacher. What the student quickly realizes is the teacher became a master only through the practice and failures. They mastered something not because they are special or talented, but because they never gave up.
Wow. I'm so glad you shared that quote. I forgot about that. That was so many years ago. And my word for 2024 was practice.
Ah,
That was my word.
That could be the title of this episode. That could be the whole episode, just about this quote and what that.
If I have a say or a vote, I vote practice.
Okay. You do have a say and a vote, so you win.
Right.
Because the guests, they break the tie. So if I went the right. So
Great.
oh, Boise, there's so much to it and to you.
This is a 3-hour podcast, right?
It really is. I mean, it's a 3-hour podcast, which we're going to likely do in 3 parts. But for today, you know, a lot of the people listening are in the arts, or they're creatives or non-creatives or creatively inclined. And I'm wondering sort of how your life blends together in the way that it does to be such a mover and shaker in all these areas, helping so many different kinds of people and sharing the work that you do with so many kinds of people. What is it at the root? What is it at the root that you want to share with these people from all walks of life, whether they're your acting students or you're teaching them about, you know, how to successfully end a marriage? What is it that ultimately you're wanting to provide for people?
Well, that's a great question. And thanks for having me as a guest today. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm so excited you're here.
I think for me it's you know, I just wrote something that I shared about writing and how important I think having a journal is. I was never a diary kid. I always threw out my notebooks when I was done with them. I never kept them, and I never shared what I wrote. But recently, the last 7-8 years, I've noticed that, you know, writing is powerful. And I don't mean like typing on a keyboard. I mean, actually, like, is my current notebook. You can see like what's not used yet, right? Is that
Mm.
little strip, like when you tear into the earth, you can see all the layers of the history of everything. So right now I have about 30 pages left, which is perfect because I want to finish this journal by the time the year's over. I start my journal on the back end. I have all the stuff about the play, and on the front end is all the stuff about my life. So I start my personal journal from the front, and then whatever I'm working on, I flip it over and start from the back so that I don't have to have more than one journal with me, and it segregates the two worlds, the world of my creativity and the world of my day-to-day affairs. So I would say right now, to kind of merge in this notion of practice, success, and your question, if you could posit it again, was
What is it that you ultimately, at the root of all of this creativity and generosity on your part,
yeah,
what do you want to give people?
yeah, I think I want to give people the experience of, you know, discovering like what is it you're here to share, like what is your talent, right? And
Mm.
when I was a little kid, my idol was Shel Silverstein. I just
Oh,
wanted to grow up and I wanted to be Shel Silverstein. Like some
that's
people
for
want to
those
be,
listening. That's a light on in the attic. That is where
yeah,
the sidewalk ends.
yep,
Yes,
giving tree,
giving tree,
right?
magical.
Missing piece, right? And the
Yeah.
thing that people don't know about Shel Silverstein, because he was an adult that wrote for children. He was Uncle Shelby when he wrote for kids. But as an adult, he was the most frequented person at the Playboy Mansion. He lived on a boat in San Francisco. His boat looked like the equivalent of like Barbara Eden's I Dream of Jeannie, her little bottle. Imagine that for like a bachelor that lived on a boat in San Francisco back in the
I
70s, right?
never knew that. I never knew any of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. He also penned most of, if not the majority of the songs by Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, which was a band from the 70s who wrote like Sylvia's Mother, Sharing the Night Together, all those love songs and ballads. And it's kind of predates yacht rock. It was like Dr. Hook was one of my favorite bands. My dad used to play them on the 8-track in his pickup truck. And if you kids don't know what an 8-track or a pickup truck is, just ask AI and it'll spit out a really cool Dodge with a little 8-track in there. Um, and Shel Silverstein was a Renaissance man. He won a Grammy, he won an Emmy, never won a Tony, never won an Oscar, but he was really just expressing himself in the world through art, through illustrations, through music, through the written word. Um, Played guitar, just loved to share art in the world. And when I was 8 years old, I remember telling my mom, she got me a copy of Where the Sidewalk Ends in
Yeah.
1977. I still have the copy to this day. And it's got, my mom passed in March, but she wrote in it, to me and my sister, Merry Christmas. And it's in pencil, it's in her cursive, and it's dated at the top, Christmas 1977. And I told my mom after I got that, I said, I want to be a Renaissance man when I grow up. She asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a Renaissance man. She goes, do you know what a Renaissance man is? And I had to stop because I didn't know what one was. I went, well, it seems like someone who could do anything they want and could do everything they want. She said, that's a pretty good definition of a Renaissance man. So while everyone doesn't strive to be an artist, an illustrator, an author, a playwright, an actor, a TV show host, a counselor, somebody who's interested in how's your heart, not everybody has that path. But my path, since I was a very young boy, I just wanted to express art in every possible way and really be able to do all the things. So I want people to find out what is their gift, what's the thing inside of them. You and I are very steeped in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and the 17 beats of the monomyth, and everybody goes through something. And on the other side of that something, they fulfill the quest, right? Frodo throws the ring in Mordor. Alice and Wonderland, she gets I was going to go Wizard of Oz, but I was just about to conflate Wizard of Oz and Alice. But basically, Dorothy, Alice, pick your favorite hero.
Holy
And at the
Grail, Monty Python.
Exactly. At the end of that journey, the hero goes to share the gift that they got with the village or with their community. And ultimately that's what I want is for people to discover their unique gift that they have to share with their community.
That is so beautiful because at the end of the day, I think it's right there for people or it's something hidden in plain sight, but we all want to explore and explode what we came here to do. What do you tell people that don't experience in their day in, day out lives? They don't have the experience that there's any access to that.
Yeah. Well, I
A
tell
lot
people
of people
back.
that we meet don't know that anything like that is even available. So how would you help someone that's like, hey, Boise, I want to be you when I grow up. I also wanted to be a Renaissance man. I mean, what you generate humanly and creatively for the planet is not, it's unmatched in terms of the people that I know. What you put out there for people in the array of ways and means, and in powerful and profound and impactful ways, in all of these forms of creativity and transformation, and your generosity with that, I don't know anyone who does it as much as you or as well as you. What are you telling people that don't feel like, it's not me? I can't go out and just make a play. I can't go out and write a book. I cannot. There's no way. You don't know me. You don't know who I am. You don't know my situation. How do you provide access for people that don't see it, don't see that that's possible?
Yeah, I would say, everything's a remix. So none of us are coming up with something original, right? We were dancing before the episode here, rocking out to a song from 1983. Shout out to Stetson Sonic. And it was a remix of it, but it's still the same song. It just has a little modern twist on it. So I would tell people to you know, go back into your past and look at when you were like 13 or 8 or 5 and ask yourself, what was inspiring me then? Like now, if you just say, what was your influencer? People are going to think like, oh, the person I watch on YouTube or the big booty gal on Instagram or the podcast that I listen to help me feel better about my childhood. That's not the kind of influencer I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you go back to when you were 5 or 8 or 13, kids today excluded, we weren't looking at screens. We were reading books. We were listening to records or tapes or 8 tracks in my case. We were listening to our teachers. We were in school. We had mentors. We had coaches, after school program, art teacher, dance teacher. Like that was my life after school. I didn't want to go home and be alone because I was a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked. So I would go and find communities of things to do, whether it was the rec center, whether it was after school athletics, art club, whatever that was. So I would say go back into your past and look at your influences, your real influencers, your books, your music, your movies, and your mentors, and make a list of those people. And if there are people that you had contact to, when I wrote Shel Silverstein to say thank you in April of 1999, finally I got the hit like, oh, I'm going to be 30. My life's changing. I'm out of my Saturn return. Look it up. And I'm going to write Shel Silverstein a thank you letter. And by the time I did, he'd already died. He died in May of 99. I missed it by like a month. So write thank you notes to the real life human beings that you can get an address for. And, everybody can send, Taylor Swift or Justin Bieber or, a president a letter. But send it to your guidance counselor, send it to your grandparents, send it to your coach in high school, send it to your college professor, somebody who knows you better than just being a fan, right? So I would say that to people because from going back into your past, when you're 5 years old, you're 8 years old, you're 13-year-olds, even when you're 21, your mind is still malleable. Our brains don't get done developing till we're 24. So those early years, the first 2 decades of our life, we're still discovering and learning. We don't know who we are because we're not fully formed. We're not fully cooked yet. So go back and look at the things that inspired you, the things that lit you up: music, movies, mentors, and books. And from those, I believe people find what their gifts are. And that's a really fun exploration. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Mm,
Good
that's
question.
so,
Thanks.
oh,
Like
that's so
I feel like
rich.
that question was like set up like a softball, but that is my favorite thing to do with people.
Ah, and there's so much gold in that. Getting back to that, the childlike joy and the passions that we had for whatever we wanted to do. And there was a moment, I'm sure, for all of us. I don't know what that moment was, but there was a moment
Who
when
was your Shel Silverstein?
we believed we could do it. There was a moment when we did believe we could do it. And so
Yeah.
using that as a resource, because that's as part of you as That's as much as part of you as any other cells in your body that that happened, that there was a time when you were like, I'm 4 years old and I'm going full tilt boogie as I did, right? And
Right.
I'm just, I didn't have I
The
didn't make a
shells.
choice. I didn't make a choice about being in the arts. It was kind of like, when did you know you were a girl? Like, when
Yeah.
did you know you were a boy? It just was always there.
Yeah.
Although there were, when I we had tickets to the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which brought in big Broadway national tours. And I was about 6 years old and saw Guys and Dolls with Nathan Lane. It had just been on Broadway and it was at the Kennedy Center. And I remember not being able to move out of my chair at the end of the show. I was like struck. I was like
Wow.
struck with bolts of lightning so powerful. They were the beginning of the fire that was going to generate my entire life. I didn't know that at the time, but it was further imprinted when my parents finally got me up out of the seat. They're like, "Do you want to meet the actors?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "The actors that were in the play. Do you want to go say hello? And, you can get them to sign your program." And I had no idea what they were talking about because these people did not seem like human beings to me. They're singing and dancing and storytelling at the top of their game, at the height of their field, Broadway, in the world of live theater, musical theater. And they led me to down the Hall of Nations to the stage door, and these women and men started pouring out. And the women had stocking caps on their heads because they had taken their wigs off. So they had wig caps on. They were wearing so they looked like aliens with huge eyelashes and makeup and jeans. And I was like, they're people. What are they doing right now? And my mom's like, they're going to eat dinner because they have another show to do at 8 p.m. They're going to do it all again. I was like, what are you talking about? And so it was in that moment I realized that this was actually something that people did for
Wow.
their lives. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? We would be in elementary school and we would have the doctor visit or the lawyer or the teacher
Right.
or the carpenter or the plumber. What do you do? How do you do it? But this was no person, superhuman, uber Herculean artist had ever dropped into my elementary school to be like, it's career day. Do you ever want to be on Broadway? Like, just hadn't happened. So it hadn't occurred to me. And when it did, I think that changed everything, as evidenced by sort of the trajectory of my life after that age and sort of the serious, like in some ways it became serious, that it was a moment of great inspiration and phenomenal joy, but something dug in and got lodged in my psyche about, like, if this was a job, there was work to do. So from a very young age, I was like pre-professional training programs, then professional training programs while I was in high school. I went to Juilliard. I kept the practice, Boise. It's what you shared off the bat. It was like I realized that it was the repetition that was going to be the mother of the skill. So I I decided to go full tilt boogie. I don't know if I decided, I just did. I wanted to ask about, because this means a lot to, I think, a lot of people who are really looking to do something meaningful, whether it's in arts and crafts or whatever their chosen vocation is. With everything that you do, have done, are currently doing and creating, and with all the joy, with all the inspiration, with all the help and resources that you give to people on the daily, day in, day out, thousands. I mean, it would just fill football stadiums of people, the amount of souls that you have touched and continue, and with your book. And I mean, the question is, are you enjoying it? And if so, these incredible accomplishments and milestones, how do you Or do you? Do you make sure, or how do you make sure that you actually enjoy the
Mm.
magic that occurs as your life to anyone watching?
That's really great. You know, what comes up right away is having just done my first play, right? In your
Yeah.
beautiful introduction, I wrote my first play, I produced my first play, and I acted in my first play. I did TV and film and stand up and improv and one man shows and all that stuff, but I'd never been in an ensemble with a cast. I
Yeah.
learned upstage, downstage. You taught me on the boards last week when you were
On
like,
the
I'm on the
boards.
boards too. And I came and saw your show. You were 6 years old last night. It was amazing. I saw the little girl that didn't want to get out of her chair at the Kennedy Center last night, pumping her fist and, moving the logs. And it was so inspiring. Um, how it stays joyful for me, there's two things. One is I'm never satisfied. There's the Martha Graham to
Yes.
Agnes DeMille, right? There's
The
only a
divine.
queer divine dissatisfaction that keeps us from marching, makes us more alive than the others, right? So there's that piece,
Oh,
right? And if you're not familiar with Agnes DeMille and and Martha Graham, you can just look up Bodhi in Point Break, played by Patrick Swayze, the late great, and he says, "What do you want to be? Like one of those zombies in those metal coffins on the freeway, just driving to and from their job? The ex-presidents are surfers and they rob banks, right? So it's the same energy of that quote with Martha Graham as what Swayze's character Bodhi is saying in Point Break. Don't don't let your soul buy into what the paper is selling. There's a lot of things you can do in the world, but I don't know anybody who's really wealthy with money who's really happy. And I think I
really?
learned that at a young age. Yeah. I mean, they'll tell you, "Oh, I'm happy I can buy." They're bored, they're trapped, and they feel guilty that they've won that game. And I believe that's a zero sum game, being financially wealthy, like stinking rich. I'm talking like billionaire rich. I'd
Okay.
like to be millionaire rich. I can handle that. I'll give it all back. I'll live simply. I've always lived simply. But I just don't think that's the game. For me, the game is keep my soul alive, keep feeding it. And that's where my joy comes from trying big things that I've never done, like doing the play. Now I'm more excited than ever because now I got to figure out I've written a good play, but now I need to figure out how to produce and put up a great play, a play that wants to go to Broadway. By the way, I just learned that off Broadway is 3 blocks off Broadway.
That's
So
it.
look, I'll take the basement of a Chinese restaurant 4 blocks off Broadway if that means we get to go be off Broadway, right? But the joy part that I wanted to also share is, you know, working in theater, I realized why I waited till the very end to work in theater. Theater people are challenging. Their brains go faster than mine does, and mine goes pretty fast, but I've
Yeah,
never
that
met,
seems impossible, but
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I can't hang. Theater people are too fast for me, and my brain goes really fast. Maybe it's because I just turned 55 and I'm slowing down a little bit. But the other thing is the personalities are really big. And I had a challenge with one of the personalities. And in that challenge, the way I stayed happy was one of the nights I was walking to the theater because I put it up in my hometown of Venice and I was staying up, 10-minute walk away, 11-minute walk away from the theater. Great to walk to the theater. Look forward to doing that off Broadway or on Broadway. It doesn't matter.
Or
But
in
that's up.
Scotland, which is off continent Broadway in Scotland, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I've directed there. I recommend it. Just put your application in. You will be in Scotland by next summer. Okay.
Great. All right,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I realized I was unhappy going to the theater because my idea, and I didn't have a fantastical, imaginary, delusional fantasy about theater. I had no idea what I was doing. So it was all brand new. It was totally fun, but challenging personalities. I was walking to theater and I was sad. I didn't want to be there. I was like, why am I not having a joyful experience doing this thing that I had to do? Just like you said, I have to do this. Whatever these aliens are, that's what I have to do. And I picked up the phone and I called a buddy of mine who's a theater guy in New York City. And I just talked to him for like 10 minutes on the walk. I said, I'm really struggling. He said, okay. And we put it in perspective. that I spent $16,000 of my own money to basically do what was a glorified table read, 6 workshop performances in front of 400 people total. We had about 60, 70 people per show. And why would I allow my feelings to get in the way of this tremendous accomplishment and this amazing experience I'm getting of venturing out into this brand new realm of entertainment, which is the original, the live theater, break a leg, foot candles, upstage, downstage, project. Like there's no other theater other than the campfire
That's
that
it.
that is older than theater. So I'm humbled, I'm happy, and I was supported by
Mm.
people who understood what I was going through. And I turned the beat around. And by the time I got to the theater on that 11-minute walk, I had sorted myself out to get back in the joy. And then I just didn't interact with the people that were triggering me, the people that were bothering me, the people that were I perceived as going through something that made it difficult for me to enjoy my own experience. I created the sandbox. I brought the toys and I invited the people. Why wouldn't I want to be the one having the most fun?
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, for those of us taking this in, what I just got is through whatever means, whether that's shoving it into perspective, calling a friend to shed light on a new perspective, like that, using your mind to talk to your brain it's so powerful and sounds possible for people. Like, let me put this into perspective. I mean, I think there are ways to do that on psychological, human, spiritual levels on the daily in our meditation practices. But that sounds, it's such a brass tacks way to be like, let me take a pause. And before I start reacting, in that pause, in that space between stimulus and response, I have a choice.
Yeah.
And seeking a person, a place, a tool, something that you have in your handy dandy notes section, just quotes that you have for yourself that you read that are going to put it into perspective again. I think that's great. We can have a toolkit that does just that, because I can hear how that freed you up to enjoy this process that you had earned. You had earned all, to have, the right for all the joy in the universe, all the sunbeams, and deserving of all the beauty and the sun rays and the applause and the admiration and all of it. So, speaking of perspective and putting things into it when we can, you are uh you're such a divine creature, and one that when I think of, simultaneously I think of, when I think of Boise, I think of a spiritual guide. I think of a Zen teacher, student, master. I think of someone that is connected to the energies that are all around us, though they may be hidden in plain sight. I think they're all around us. And I think of you, Boise, as someone that is like actually tapped in on a level that, again, is beyond anybody I know. And can you talk a little bit about how your life is both transformed and molded, how it's shaped, how your spiritual life and practice is your life in all the things you're doing, and how we can get a taste of that and maybe look to bring some of that world in which you move and delve and shake and dance into our worlds, how we can get
Yes.
access.
You really do know me because this is what I love to talk about. And I'm going to use the G word. Okay. God. And what that means for me is guide of divinity. And if you look up the word divinity in any dictionary, whether it's Oxford or Merriam-Webster or unabridged, your favorite, your old, but anywhere you find the word God, you'll get interpretations that are religious in nature, or 2,000 different faces that human beings have created to describe that name that we choose to call this divine, ultimate, what Einstein called the cosmic creator. Okay. He said there can only be one creator because to have a personal God defies the laws of physics. So he said, the more I study science, the more I believe in God. But there can only be one God because having multiple gods is in physics is impossible. Only one thing can create everything from nothing. And that was what Einstein was working on at the end of his life, was the unified field theory, which I believe he was trying to mathematically demonstrate what is love, what is God. So for me, what God is the guide of divinity. Anything that guides you to the third definition of divinity, which is that which is good, divine. So for me, guide of good, whatever sends me to something that is good, that's God. Because where there is good, there is God. And if you just think about that extra O, like, oh God, just move the O in between the G and the D and you got good.
Good.
So whenever I say, oh my God, I take the my and move it over and put the O in with the G and the D, and I got my good is my God. So wherever there's something good happening, I gravitate. It's like a magnet. I go to that. If I see kids having fun or I see adults that are holding hands in public, I'll stop them and say, "Excuse me, I don't know if you know this, but holding hands makes you live longer." They've done scientific studies that if you hold hands with your partner, you will live longer than if you don't hold hands with your partner. So that connection, that unified field theory of that energy actually is a practice of life extension that's way easier than, juicing vegetables and intermittent fasting. Just hold someone's hand. You know what I mean? So where I see good, I see God. But again, I don't want people left with God like the face of God. Love Jesus, love Buddha, love Krishna, but those are the only three gods I've really studied. And I'm getting my PhD right now in metaphysical ministry from the University of Sedona because I want to understand God. So in my spiritual practice that you're pointing to and giving me the opportunity and the platform and the opportunity to reach people with this message is there's four people in the play, the Leela. The Indian Sanskrit word for play is Leela, Leela. And there's a song like Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the kids in India sing it, they sing it like this: Leela, Leela, life is just a play. Ha 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 ha. Leela, 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 just a play. And they go over and over and they just sing it. There's no end. It's the song that never ends version of the Indians, Eastern Indians native children's song. Leela
Wheels
means
on the
play.
bus. Wheels on the
Wheels on
bus
the
go
bus.
round, round, round. Oh my
Yeah, it
God.
brings you joy and everybody knows the words. And
Yeah.
eventually, even if you're in a bad mood or you stubbed your toe or you failed a test or you didn't get the snack, you'll jump in eventually. After a couple rounds, you're like, Leela, Leela, like you'll get in there. So in the play of life, there's four characters. There's you, the others, people watching, me and your Leela, you and I, my Leela, God, the guide of divinity, and then this other thing that you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the ego, edging God out. You can call it the devil. The devil made me do it. You want to be responsible for your actions. Oh, the devil made me do it, right? So my grandmother used to say, oh, don't let the devil get you. Or whatever that negative conversation, like you said, wow, you used your mind to watch your brain. The separation, the gap, or what my meditation teacher called the witness. So if you can get the watcher and the witness up above the surface monkey mind, and then you can detach or separate from the ego, the edging God out. So the four characters in the Leela, to wrap up this spiritual thought, is you got yourself, you got the others, you got God, and then you've got, hey, it's my sister calling, and then you've got the ego or the devil, right? And that's edging God out. So for me, there's three sources of joy: myself, God, and others. And then there's a source of joy that's like, if it's easy now, it's probably going to hurt later. But if it's challenging now, it's probably going to bring me a lot of joy in the long run. So the easy things tend to be propped up by the ego or the devil. The quick money, the fast relationship, the low calorie, cheap gas store snack, those things tend to give you the immediate payoff, the high, the euphoric sense of like, oh my God, this is so good. But the thing that's more challenging, like juicing the carrots first thing in the morning, or giving your first hour of the day to your meditation practice, or sitting down and journaling when you're really angry and you just want to react to the other, or you want to harm yourself, the suicidal ideation, the depression, the self-harm, the all the feelings. That's in the ego category. How can I get right with what's good? What's good about my friends? What's good about my family? What's good about myself? And make space for the dark. So that's those four characters in the play are how I true myself up to my spiritual practice. And every morning, given that first hour of the day to God, the guide of divinity, so that I can guarantee that the next 23 hours I get back are in service of whatever the message was in the meditation, like the candle. So a couple of ohms, wrap yourself in a blanket, sit upright, don't turn your phone on, bang your little gong, your little bells, ring your little bell, and don't look at your screen first hour of the day, and then pen to paper to try to capture what was the message. And then if I can live true to that message, and if I can carry my notebook around, if I forget the message, I can look it up, you know? And this morning's message was,
Yeah.
bless them, those people in the world that upset me, the 57 wars on the planet. Bless those people that are trying to, be right about something. And God just continue to give me the ability to change my own thinking so I can be a good person. And that was this morning's message, was to just bless them, change me. And that's what I would say, is a practice, again, practice the theme, and writing and giving that first hour of the day to whatever your spiritual connection is, whatever your guide of divinity, whatever your higher power, your ultimate consciousness. Even if it's nature, go to the beach, go to the forest, and be with whatever that is for you.
I am just
Yeah.
bathing in this wisdom and these gems. They're so magical and yet so practical. I can I can go and do everything that you just shared about.
Yeah.
Um,
If it's hard now, it's rewarding later, but the practices don't have to be hard. If the practice is hard, find a different practice, you know,
yeah,
and
that's
then
great.
build. Yeah, build. And you were brilliant last night. People don't know what I'm talking about, but I'll drop it in the comments or something last night.
Well,
So many questions about this Constitution play that you put up, or this piece. It's really a piece, but how you got off book, what you used as reference for your own, replacement, and the repetition of it. And the thing at the end, is that part of it, or did you add that? Like, what a, and I'm trying to put together a bus from the West Side to come to North Hollywood next weekend. But it's really important that people remember that you have a choice. You don't have to be a victim. And no one gets to say what you do with your body, regardless of what your passport says.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you for thank you for that. Is so powerful and really drilling down with what you just shared. No one gets to tell you. That's huge. It's why I'm doing the play. It's why I think I'm going to keep doing the play. It's why this may be the only play I ever do again.
That's, I love that. And
You
look,
know what
that
I mean?
has you be so present. That's great. I love that you said that, because we know you're going to do more, but it puts you all in. Like, you burn the boats like
Yeah.
Vikings, right? You're the boats. You're like, this is it.
This is it. I do. I think college campuses just get it. I think there isn't a soul that won't find themselves somewhere, like in your play and like what you just shared, somewhere in this story. There's not a soul that's not going to identify with some aspect, with some character, with some essence, with some teaching that they're not going to learn from and experience and feel their shared humanity with. So thank you for
Yeah.
reflecting that back about last night's show, and thank
Keep
you for
going.
coming to the show. Thanks for showing up. That's another thing. Showing up,
Yeah.
showing up. So many great creatives and artists and geniuses and wizards like you, Boise, talk so much about just show up.
And hey,
Number
look, it took me 55 minutes to drive to the play, right? That was hard. It took me 27 minutes to get home. That was easy. So again, to make the point of the practice was going to see You put up that brilliant piece. It took something to get there. And when I was there, I was like, oh my God, this is so great. And the drive home, I was floating. So a perfect example of doing something that's challenging on the front end, the payoff on the back end is way better because it took something. Yeah.
Ah, that's it, folks. There's your prescription from the to-be doctor Boise Thomas, to
Yeah, there
be,
you go.
who's
Yeah.
currently getting
Call
his
me in the
PhD,
morning.
his doctorate in Sedona. And so so let me ask you this. Yeah.
Mhm.
Your force of nature. I mean, it's so obvious. It's just coming through the pixels and in the energy and the sound vibrations that you're making. We're all privy to it. What have you had a cataclysmic moment or two that has set
Mhm.
you off uh, in the direction of your life, of your created dreams come true? I mean, has there been a soul boom for you or a couple that have launched you into becoming you? And
I love
if
it.
so, if you wanted to share any of those moments.
Yeah, Soul Boom. I mean, I'm pretty out about it because in the 2020 book you mentioned, my book, How's Your Heart? It's
Yes.
still not on Amazon yet. So like people are like, how do I get it? Like, I don't know, you go to the website, you order it, and then I
And it'll be on
sign
the
it.
show
And
notes. It'll be on the show
yeah,
notes as well, of course, of course.
I've been struggling to get it on Amazon because I'm a bit of a control freak and they keep wanting me to correct the margins and there's like artwork everywhere. So it bleeds. Every page goes into the bleed and the AI computer robotic printing press is like, no, will not. I won't print this. It won't look right. But it doesn't understand like that's how the book is. It goes off the page. So
Ah,
I haven't quite found out how to do that yet, but it's all in due time. It's fine. But in 2020, when I published the book, um, and got like a couple thousand copies out in the world and sold them and signed them and all that stuff. In that chapter 13 of that book, I talk about my, as you said, soul boom. I've never heard that phrase before. I love that. So my soul boom was in January of 2017. I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping about 4 hours a day. And I won't go deep into the details because it's in the book, but it didn't matter. If I went to bed at 8, I woke up at midnight. If I went to bed at midnight, I woke up at 4. If I went to bed at 4, I woke up at 8. Couldn't nap, couldn't get back to sleep. And every 2 hours, I broke into a fit of hysterical sobbing and crying for 20 minutes. And the reason why I say it this way is because it was like clockwork. It was like a German train. It was like you can count on it. And after about a week or two, I stopped sleeping in my bed and I was couch surfing and staying with friends. And at one point, I actually started staying with my former wife, who we'd been divorced for 4 years. And I went and stayed with her for a couple of days because I had nowhere else to go. You know, I had nowhere else. Richard Gere, right? Officer and a gentleman, like get out of my get out of my military, get out of my Marine Corps. He's like, I got nowhere else to go. Like I had nowhere else to go. And ultimately, a woman I was seeing at the time gifted me an hour with her therapist. And I hadn't sat with a therapist for like a year or two. And the therapist at the end of the session, I was looking at the clock. I go, here we go. She's about to check in because we got like a minute left. She goes, all right, so what do you want to do? I go, I don't know what to do. And she said, all right, well, the way I see it is you have three choices. You can go home and be alone. I said, no, I don't want to do that. She goes, you can go find another friend and go sit with them. I go, no, I don't want to do that either. She goes, or you can go to the hospital and check yourself in because you're so exhausted after 3.5 weeks of this that you're starting to have really negative thoughts. And the conversation that I kept having, Robyn, was what's the point? What's the point to any of this? And I'll tell you, if you're out there and you've never had a depressed, suicidal thought in your life, the last question you want to get in bed with your ego is what's the point? Because you will lose that conversation to your ego and you'll go looking for a gun or you'll go looking for a great place to drive off the PCH into the ocean or you'll think about hanging yourself. You'll think about well, how many pills do I have to take? And then you start Googling things. How would I do it? That's a very slippery slope. So when I started thinking about how would I actually end my own life, that was my sonic boom. And then I drove to the hospital that day and I checked myself in to UCLA Medical Center in the emergency room. There's nothing more humbling than filling out a clipboard And it says on question 7, it says, why are you here at the emergency room today? And you write, I'm thinking of killing myself. So in all the spiritual, amazing, life coachy, movies, music, poetry, wherever there's that moment where the hero, he or she or they or them, says, I thought about ending my life. And then they have this epiphany like, oh, not only is the idiot about to kill me, but the idiot's about to kill the guy that's taking his play to Broadway one day. And if this idiot gets his way, he's going to kill all 3 of us. The person I was, the person I am, and the person that the guide of divinity wants me to become. And in that moment in the hospital, that's when I realized I don't belong in an emergency room with a bunch of people having psychotic breaks in reality. I belong in the world. I pulled a geographical, I traveled for 2 years, and I wrote the book. And it took me every day those 2 years to write that book. But that was my sonic boom. And it's chapter 13 of How's Your Heart? And I don't pretend to give people a recipe for how to not kill yourself. But my hope in the book, when people read it, is that they get to preemptively experience their own suicidal ideation. Because I ask people when I lead seminars, when I do panels, when I host anything, or whenever I'm in front of a group of people and it's appropriate, I'll say to the people, I have a question. How many of you have thought about killing yourself? And the people that don't raise their hand, I say, okay, I just have to stop for a second, because everyone whose hand is down, you're not being honest with me, because I just asked you, have you ever thought about killing yourself? And even if you never have, you just had to think about it just to answer the question. So everyone's hand should go up. I'm not asking, are you depressed? Are you sad? Or do you want to publicly out yourself as somebody who grapples, like I used to, with crippling depression? I just spent weeks in my house with the blinds drawn, not showering, not eating, people leaving food on my doorstep. So I know what that place is like. And I haven't had, Robyn, a suicidal thought, knock on wood, since probably, well, suicidal ideation to the point of like that kind of clinical depression since August of 2023. And the source of it is the writing. Because every day I wake up and I realize I can write myself into right action. I can write my mind into being right. I can write myself, write the ship, write the car, write the story. And the story that I want to finish when my time is done here is one where people say things like you've been so generous to say today, that I got to impact stadiums full of people. And I don't believe I'm done yet, and I lost 13 people in my life this year. My mom, a couple mentors, people in my book, 4 of my favorite people all died within 150 days of each other this year. And then another 8 or 9 people shuffled off the mortal coil within 150 days. And forced me to go become a death doula, which is a whole nother thing too. End of life care, wrapping people in a shroud, oiling their body, sitting with the dead, not shipping them off to the mortuary so they can be pumped with chemicals or burned to ash, sitting with the dead for hours, sometimes days, and letting people grieve and mourn, because most people have never seen a dead body. And I've seen a lot of dead bodies in the last couple of years, and that's where we're all headed, but not by my own hand, right? By the hand of the guide of divinity. So thanks for letting me go way out into the ethers there and then come back, because a soul boom is what I wish for everybody. I wish on your worst day, you ask the question, what's the point? And then you put pen to paper and create anything that's better than putting an end to your own life. And I know that it's an epidemic out there right now, mental health, and it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get cured overnight. It's not going to get cured alone with prescription or therapy. It's going to take, everyone's going to have to create their own ritual, but it begins with writing your mind and writing your mind. Get a good pen and a good journal.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Soul boom. I love that.
ah,
Boom.
it's Soul
Soul.
Boom. I believe it's the name of Rainn Wilson's podcast, Soul Boom.
Oh, great. Love it.
um, and Boise, this is Um, I don't want to say overwhelmed because I'm
Well, you're
absorbing
very
and I,
light. You're very
uh,
bright. You're very
yeah,
light. So I know you know the darkness
yeah.
because you don't get to be this bright. You just don't get to be this a good driver until you have a couple of accidents. You don't get to be, you know, a very talented person until you fail a lot and experience a lot of, failure is what success will give you. You know, really, it's the other side of success is you're someone who's failed more than anyone else. So I know you know the dark because again, last night was I watched somebody bring a group of 50 other people to life in 90 minutes and nobody wanted to go home. Nobody wanted to leave, and that's
Mm.
the mark of somebody who's turning on their own light so that you can see the light inside of you. So I get you got a little, paused there with like speaking, but it's because you know that dark.
Mm.
Because you don't get
True,
to be that light without that dark. So yeah,
true
yeah,
that, true that. And this is a,
yeah.
a very, thank you for that acknowledgement and reflection. And this is the wealth, the richness of this conversation is really, again, unmatched. And for people that this is very practical, but for listeners who are like, I don't have the energy to write. I can't write. I don't have a pen. I don't have a journal. I'm in the middle of the woods. I like literally, is there another way that we can, is there another form in which we could write? Can we speak it out loud? Do we talk to God? I mean, for people that maybe they can't write, there's some impediment, whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. If we
I
can't
like-
actually take pen to paper, which I feel it's invaluable, but if for some reason there's something that's the thing keeping us from getting over the wall,
hmm.
what can you offer those folks in terms of
Well,
I'm
my
not a
my
writer, I
mind
don't want to wake up and write, I don't have time,
my mind went to you said if they were out in the woods and they didn't have a pen or paper. Well, in the woods, there's two things you can find in the woods really easily: leaves and rocks. So maybe a leaf would be for like everything that's light in your life. Like I love that I woke up today. 89,000 people die in their sleep every night. They think they're going to wake up tomorrow and they don't. So whenever I wake up, I'm like, I won the lottery. It's very small odds that out of 8.4 billion people, you're going to die in your sleep. It's like point 16 zeros and then like 187 or something. It's very, very small percentage of people, 89,000 people in 8.4 billion. But for me, every time I wake up, the first thought I have is like, yes, I'm back. I have another day. So that would be the leaf, light things that you could stack or collect. And then the rock would be something that's like a rock in your shoe, a pebble. It's heavy, it's hard, it's changing, but to our eye, molecularly, we can't see the change in a pebble or a rock unless we looked at it in a river every day for 50 years. We'd see it shrink, right? But that's not how our brains work. So the pebbles, you can make a pile of pebbles for all the hard days and then a pile of leaves for all the light days because that's the resource you have. And then you could invite people, your whole village. Say, hey, let's make a pile of leaves. And every day at the end of the day, we'll look at the two piles. How many rocks, how many people had pebbles, and how many people had a light leaf day? And then we can just say, okay, that was today. And then the next morning, we sweep it all away and we start over because that's really all we got anyways is the next day to start over, but today's the only one we get as far as we know. So that's what I would say to people that don't have the fancy stationery shop down the street where they can
yeah.
buy their $3 pen and their $3 notebook.
And in that vein, this methodology, this idea of rewriting your story,
Yeah.
can you say a little bit about that in the journaling process, whether that's with pen and paper or rocks and leaves? What is this about rewriting your own story? Like, how can people make that into like they could put that in their toolkit and actually whip it out? What does that look like?
Well, the other thing, and again, because the book's not on Amazon and I'm not on a book tour, and even though I'm an author, and even though I made some music on Spotify, I don't consider myself a musician and I don't consider myself somebody who's pitching a book. But in my book, what I delve into with people is the sum of who you are is the previous two selves that has existed before who you are today. And how I use those markers, and I alluded to it earlier in the interview today, was you look at the Fibonacci numbers. So the Fibonacci sequence, these numbers here at the top of this postcard, it's 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. Those are the Fibonacci numbers. And it's actually the Fibonacci sequence. And I believe that those numbers don't only exist in nature, in a swirl, a seashell, your DNA, you flush something down the toilet and you watch it do the spiral, the wave crashing, the tornado from space, whatever it is, right? You can mathematically extract any swirl you see in the world and you can find those numbers. You can also find them in the leaves of a pine cone and the seeds inside of a sunflower. I haven't looked at this and counted, but this is, I always have an orchid on my desk. We talked about aliens, right? Actors and being, I think green-eyed people, I think we're from somewhere else. So, good to see you again in
Good
this
to see
form.
you again.
So let's put my glasses on. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 flowers on this. Okay. And there's 3 leaves. So that follows the rule of the Fibonacci sequence, 8 and 3. And in the middle, there's 5. In our bodies, 1, 2, 3. It goes 1, 2, 1 is 2. It's some of the previous 2. That's all you got to remember. Okay. So 1 plus
Boise is,
1.
by the way, for those listening, Boise is pointing to his fingers.
That's right. So if you typed in
Physiological construct.
human anatomy and you typed in Fibonacci sequence, human anatomy, your finger is the sum of the previous bone. So the tip of your finger is 1, and then the middle part of your finger is 1, and those 2, 1 plus 1 equals 2, which is the length of the next bone from your knuckle to the knuckle on your hand. And then that whole finger is the length of 1 plus 2 is 3, and that's from your knuckle to your wrist. And then that whole finger to your wrist goes to your ulna, which is your wrist to your elbow. And then that goes from your elbow to your shoulder. So 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 is the way the body is measured. And it doesn't matter what your body type is, everybody is different, but nobody is exempt from the Fibonacci sequence. So the part I want you to remember, if you remember any of this from today, is the sum of the previous 2 is how you get the number in the Fibonacci sequence. I'm 55 years old this year. I am the sum of who I was at 34 when I met you and who I was at 21, which is when I really kind of entered the world as an adult, when I was done with college and I went out into the world as a working sportscaster and a professional and a radio DJ, and then eventually an adventure tour guide. So if you want to go back, if you don't have leaves, you don't have rocks, and you're not sure how to rewrite your story, to your question, go back and mine the gold of your past. No matter what age you are, go to the nearest Fibonacci sequence number below that age. So I'm 55. I happen to be right on a Fibonacci number. But up from age 35 to age 54, I looked back to who I was at 34 and who I was at 21. And those 2 versions of myself informed me who I was going to become and to hang in there. And remember that it's going to get better. And in life, it gets worse before it gets better sometimes, let's be honest. But you can find those numbers anywhere in nature, and they're my guide. Whenever I see 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, and then into infinity, I know 144 TV commercials. I lived in Venice for 21 years. I lived in my house for 13 years. I'm 55. So all those numbers this year showed me it's time for a big change. And even though it was hard to move out of my house and hard to lose those 13 people that died in my life this year, I saw it as a gift because the universe is conspiring in my favor, and God does not want me to suffer. God wants me to find joy, but joy is available when we experience our suffering. And there's your Zen Buddhist principle of the day. Life is suffering, but suffering is optional. So find your joy, find your bliss, follow it, live your happiness. And if you're struggling, pick up the phone, find somebody who can listen and hear you out. So that's what I would say about that.
Wow.
And have an orchid on your desk.
And
I
get
don't
it.
work for the orchid industry, but I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I love my orchids.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Thank you. This is like this is the treasure chest. We've all been sort of, it's like in Goonies, and they've got the map in Goonies, and then there it
Yep,
is. And he's
there
down
it is.
there in Goonies and they're in the caves and he's like, this is our time. Up there,
Right.
it's their time because they want to stop. They're ready to stop the mission. But the young boy says, up there, it's their time, but it's our time down here. This is our
Hi,
time.
Willie, we got to do it. We got to get the gold. By the way, for
And
people listening, I have a coin, and on the coin, one side says yes, and the other side says no. And if I really get stuck, I flip that coin because in zero space where gravity exists, if you flip a coin and you flip it over, God always will give you the answer that you want because God can make it turn one more time to make sure that you get your answer. So when in doubt, flip a coin, heads or tails.
oh my God. Ah, I'm levitating with the power, the joy, the wisdom of this conversation. I'm vibrating with the truth of it. And I know you said, this is not about but your book, but this is. And every single soul who's listening in on this wants to read Boise's book and share it with their friends and families and figure
I better
out a
get it on
way
Amazon. Yeah,
figure out a way to
got away.
choose their lives and choose joy and write their stories and get up again and again and know that freedom and joy and full self-expression and creativity are on the other side of that wall and more. So, okay, so Boise, and we will put it in the show notes, but where can people listening in, where can they find you? How can they get your book today? Where can they find you in the world leading seminars, teaching your next plays? How do we stay in touch with you and deeply connected to you for the rest of our lives starting right now? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you make me want to give everyone my phone number, but let's start with website. The website's boisethomas.com. Boise spelled like Idaho, Boise, and pronounced Boise, and Thomas is my last name. So boisethomas.com. There's Instagram, Boise.Thomas or Boise period Thomas. Einstein's Meet Charlie Chaplin is the hashtag. You can find that on my website too. How's Your Heart guide is the website for the book. That's also through boisethomas.com. And, anywhere you type in Boise Thomas, you'll get all the little places where I live. And, for the last several years, I've just been healing myself and hibernating. My word for 2025, and I celebrate my birthday as my new year. So every October 12th, I'm a Libra. That's my new year. So my word for last year was practice. And my word on my birthday this year, just almost 2 months ago, to date the cast, you can pull that out if you want. But my word for the next year of my life, age 55, is visibility. And I'm making myself visible to the world after really hiding, healing, living in the shadow, not really coming out. And now I'm making myself available to the world and saying, look, this is who I am, take it or leave it. This is the story that God gave me to tell. I held the book and the pen, and God did the rest. So, as far as the Einstein Chaplin story goes, that is going to take me as far as it takes me. I'm here to serve it like a parent serves a child, or a human walks a dog, or feeds a cat, or holds a baby. I'm here to serve that being until it says, I don't need you anymore. And until that ride is over, that's really what my life's about now. So Einstein's Meet Charlie Chaplin, that's the hashtag online, and boisethomas.com is really the home for all my things. And I just updated my website again in this last couple weeks. So
Awesome.
yeah, so it's current. Thanks, Robyn. You're great.
Oh, Boise. I want to have a whole conversation about visibility and the messages that you have been no doubt receiving from the angels
Yeah,
smiling
and
down on you even now, and mom and your teachers and your guides. And I feel them
I
raging
would regret
through.
it, Robyn, if I didn't read this quote from my acting teacher, because I know countless people study with you in and out of your acting classes. The late great Sal Romeo of the Friends and Artists Theater and the Sidewalk Theater in Burbank was my acting teacher, taught me Meisner, Stanislavski, the method, got me, the white screen and close your eyes and meditate. Like that guy brought me to the edge of the darkness of my life so that I could see my light. And I would regret it if I didn't read a quote from Sal Romeo, who passed away 6 days after my mom. So the two of them are standing on my shoulders, whispering in my ears, telling me just keep going. We'll see you on the other side. Here's the quote from Sal. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
And you've said all of this in this beautiful hour we've spent together, but this is how Sal says it. I don't think there's a better tool in the world than repetition, the fluid exchange of emotion, to learn how to listen and get your attention on the other where it belongs instead of on yourself. And that's Salvatore Romeo. God bless his heart. And I
Yes.
love you, Sal, and I'll see you on the other side. And I know that he's with me because before he died, I didn't have a play. And when I went to his memorial, all I kept thinking is, I have to get this story out. And the day after his service, a friend of mine came over and said, well, it's a play, right? It's three people in one room talking for an hour. I was like, oh, and the rest is history. So thank you,
Oh,
Robyn.
Boise, thank you so much. God bless you. What
Thank
a gorgeous. This is Sunday. We are creating this episode with Boise on a Sunday, which,
you on
is typically
Sunday.
often thought of as God's day. And thank you for bringing the magic and the majesty and the power and the presence of divine love into this conversation and into the world. I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I can't wait for the next and the next forever. This is the kind of conversation, this is like the only kind of conversation I want to have.
Okay. To be continued. That's right.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Lila,
truly.
Lila. Life is just
Leela,
a play.
Leela.
Ah, yes.
I can't say it any better than that. So we're going to sing it out. Thank you, Boise. Thank you. Thank you. Much, much love.
Yeah.
So we completed the call, and I'm going to put some show notes in and just some of the takeaways that are just right there. The power to choose, that we stand in the crossroads and we can choose a leaf instead of a stone. We can also look at our lives and see the monumental value, the worth that you are, that it's time to stop robbing the world of that beautiful gift, the treasure chest that is you. That in terms of our creativity, we can look to our own childlike dreams and fantasies. And what did we want to do when we were just, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? And the world was our oyster. And the point of today is it still is. It still is. The world is still your oyster every day, every moment you get to decide that it is. The practice, and Boise was very clear. This is, part of the title of this episode, practice. The practice of I'm going to get up, and whether if I have an hour, great, but if it's 5 minutes, I'm still going to get quiet and start to observe my thoughts and create that space and separation and mindfulness so that I can start to course correct and start to captain the ship of my day. by, choosing the kinds of thoughts and ideas and what I want to believe in. So I loved all of that. There's so much more. But what a beautiful conversation and exploration into what it is to be a human being with all of our troubles and our worries and our pains and regrets, but knowing that joy and freedom and self-expression is on the other side of that wall, the ego, the edging God out. On the other side of that, if we can set the ego aside, glory, glory, glory be, hallelujah is available to you. So God bless you on this Sunday and on every day and every moment of the week. I'm with you. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's get after it because this is your time. This is your time. In every sense of the word, this really is our time. Mwah! See you on the next ride. Bye-bye. Wow, 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 wow. Oh my goodness. What a heartfelt and motivating conversation. Boise just brings it. He's like a treasure chest of knowledge and inspiration, just dropping gems wherever he goes. So enlightening. Speaking of light, as we look to the blazing bright creative horizon ahead, don't forget about the upcoming 6-week acting workshop starting January 28th that's going to totally amplify these newfound insights into actionable growth. Whether you're ready to explore the online realm or join us in person or work with me one-on-one, I love it all. It's all about enhancing your craft, your confidence, your creativity, and exploding what you can do with your God-given gifts. Let 2025 be a cornerstone year for you becoming everything that you are. Just email me at Robyn's with a Y, at cohenactingstudio.com or visit the website at www.cohenactingstudio.com. It's all in the show notes. And let me know you want in, and then I'll save you a spot. And for ongoing inspiration, updates, and a peek behind the scenes, feel free, because it's free, to follow me on Instagram at Robyn Cohen Acting Studio and join this luscious community of artists and humanitarians. And let's keep this creative party going. Also, as a token of appreciation, grab a listen to my free audio guide, 5 Proven Ways to Peace and Power, designed to infuse your days with a sense of calm, strength, and equanimity. Your journey is one of the most beautiful gifts you have to offer the world, so I invite you to share it courageously. Keep stoking that creative fire, pursuing your passions, and letting your unique brilliance shine. The world awaits your luminous impact. Until next time, stay inspired, keep your eye on the prize, and let's light it up together.